Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. I'm joined today by none other than Cozy Smap. Cozy, what is a card that you simply cannot resist putting in your decks right now?
Right now, I think it's Mirage. Even though she's a new card, this is the card that I'm putting into every deck at the moment. I think she's so good. I love the intel. I love having a little bit more power than they have. Typically, I can play it. If it's in Conquest, I know if they have a Shang-Chi, I can try to like snipe that Shang-Chi from them. I think Mirage came out in a very odd timing, but she's stupid good. What about you?
Oh, for me right now, it's got to be Silver Surfer. I mean, that's a cheat. Why'd you ask me? Of course I'm going to say Silver Surfer. Okay, let me just rewind. Let me not pick Silver Surfer for a sec. For me, it's been Moon Girl lately, honestly. Moon Girl's been a card that, like, with the Dock and Shard and with just, like, my general love for Devil Dinosaur, like, I've been putting Moon Girl in a lot of decks. I love the idea that I can Moon Girl and discard and blow up multiple shards and stuff like that.
Yep.
I've been playing more Moon Girl than usual. And, okay, I got a real question for you. Be honest. You love Mirage because she has absolutely fire variants. Like, you have a beauty on the screen right now, and there's just so many good variants for this card.
Listen, though, can I tell you something? I opened up Spotlights that week, right? And I think that was doing Conquerors. I think I was at Conquerors that week. And I tried one, and I got the random token. I tried another one, and I got something else. I don't have it. I don't have the Spotlight. I know. But you know what? This came into it's the only Spotlight card I don't own. The only one. That and Thanos, because I think that was in the same week, which I can live without Thanos. But this came into my shop, and I was like, I kind of think it's sick. The Peach Momoko variant is not, I don't think it's near as good, but I think it's a good consolation prize.
It's still really nice, though. And I mean, the Mirage variants are unbelievable. And you have the Flaviano Thanos, too, though. So I can see why you pass on the Thanos one. The Flaviano's the best. He's holding the gauntlet in the air. It's such a good variant. But anyways, Cozy, we just finished having an absolutely fantastic conversation on your channel, on your first side of the Snapchat there. So why don't you break us down with what we had spoken about on your side?
Yeah, so we talked about Dakin and all the crazy updates of Captain Marvel and all the different changes that we've had and our opinions on those, and just the recap and review. We also talked about buff and nerf wishlist Spider-Man got changed. What are some other iconic characters and cards that need some love? And I think we had one of the best, most diverse discussions around the buff side that we've had in a long time. And then Lady Deathstrike comes out today. We broke down that card, what we think of her, and the Spotlight caches that come out this week.
Fantastic, Cozy. So let's get started with our first topic of today, which is the state of the meta. Now, this isn't just like a best decks report or anything along those lines. We're going to be talking about the meta as a whole. We're talking about decks. We're talking about cards. We're talking about archetypes. Just a conversation about everything and anything. Cozy, now, the meta, in my opinion, is in one of the best spots ever. Like, listen, I've played many other card games, and I've never remembered there being a time where I'm having a hard time keeping up with the meta of a game. And I make content for this. I play this game every single day for way too damn long, and there's so much happening that, like, I feel, like, blessed. Absolutely blessed to be playing a game that's constantly being changed and updated. And so, the state of the meta, it's a huge conversation to have.
Honestly, the meta, it's a part of the grievances a bit. The meta is the best part about Snap. They're so good with it. They're so in tune with it. And it's usually the worst part about other games. Like, typically, you have great core games like, I don't know, Overwatch, whatever. And they can't get it right. There's always like two characters, two heroes that are well above the rest. Or new ones come in. This is the biggest offender. New ones come in and they're dramatically better than everything else, right? Like, Dakin comes in, and yes, he's good, but he's not like the best thing in the world, right? So, like, they nail that down to have hype around it without being a little bit over the top. The meta right now is in an interesting spot, and it's in a spot that I don't know how you fix, right? Because it's not cards that you nerf, right? Darkhawk, Miles Morales, Stature, these value cards or just value played cards is what is at the top of the meta, dependability. And it does serve a issue for Snap, but also it does make sense, right? And there's ways to rectify this, right? So if you want to play a crazy combo deck, more power to you, but you know what you're doing there, right? You're risking a little bit more to get a bigger payoff to probably win with a huge number. Big number equal better person, right? That's what a lot of people think. However, consistency is key in Snap at the moment. Where I have issue and where I just think only a few archetypes need, and they're not even archetypes, they're like cards that need other cards, right? So like my best example for this is Ronin. Ronin, it doesn't matter if you can make a good Ronin deck. He's never going to be anywhere close to meta relevant that like these Miles Morales perfect Craven move decks that are really have all these things to work out, right? Because at the end of the day, you have your whole deck to give them cards, but guess what? If you don't have Ronin, you're settling for a second win condition and then you lose, right? So whether we need more cards to help out Ronin, I think that's just one example of where the meta is at in the sense of good value, things that play well. There's greedy decks, there's combo decks. It's in a really cool spot. What are your thoughts on all that?
I love the Ronin example because, like, listen, I actually play a lot of Ronin. I love Ronin. I love Devil Dinosaur. And I think the major difference, and it's a good callback to what the meta is right now, it's do your thing really effectively, right? Do the thing that your deck is going to do and do it well. Like with Devil Dinosaur, you have a deck that's running Coulson, Fury, whatever it is, and you do your thing. Cards get big, you go vertical, whatever. With Ronin, you are doing your thing, but it's your opponent that determines the value of your Ronin. And so, like, it doesn't really, you're just letting them do their thing, control your deck. The idea that you have these cards that are providing just straight up stats, straight up value, and consistency of play are the risers. And for you to say like Miles Morales as an example is just, it's heartwarming for me because this is a card that has gone completely disrespected for so long.
He's needed more though. He's needed more, and he has it though, right? Like Silk Jeff, Spider-Man. But yes, he has gone disrespected of like the value he brings.
Absolutely. And the thing about it though is like there's so many cards like this in Marvel Snap that like they might just need that one extra piece or the extra second card that comes in the future to really make it relevant. Like Hazmat was completely unplayable without Luke Cage. And at the same time, like you're talking about, oh, you got these crazy combo centric decks. Well, Hazmat's a good example of that. It's like a 25% win rate card that like when it pops off and you drop their whole board to -15, it feels great with your Wong and all that stuff, but ultimately like that's not a deck that you want to take to infinite. You want to play the consistent stat decks. You want to put up points because at the end of the day, regardless of the meta in Marvel Snap, you win games by having more points than the other person.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt you there. I guess Miles, though, to your point, Miles, now Stature, I like these cards that you have to do something to trigger them. Listen, it was move month, so Miles really benefited off that, right? And now we're getting a lot of discard things, so Stature's going to benefit off that. I think we could see more of those. I think that'd be cool to see, but it's just hard to beat that, and I like what you said too. But it accustoms to a lot of playstyles, right? Like, Chavez doesn't need to be in every deck because not everybody's playing Marvel Snap to be the most efficient player in the world that you get the 5% more. Like, that, like, remember to have fun, and Chavez isn't exactly the most fun card in the game, right? So, it's an interesting way to go about Snap. If you want to be super sweaty and make sure that you have the best chance to win, which is the state of the meta, right? We're talking about the meta, then, you know, you do lean that direction. So they've nailed it in concepts of fun, in strategic play. There's been perfect ways to go about it. The fact of the matter right now that we have, off the top of my head, High Evolutionary, Thanos Control, Thanos Destroy, Surfer, of all different surfers, Destroy in multiple builds. Galactus, Sarah Control. Galactus is back up. I don't know if you've seen his stats are going way back up. Awesome. And he doesn't feel, I've seen people complain about him. I think he's in a good spot. I think there's plenty of ways to deal with him. Discard now that we have, and discard is just getting started, but discard now. And then I think that brings us to a great point. You have all these different kind of archetypes that are booming and spitting and working. The meta is going to ebb and flow with more of the popular decks, right? And I think we've seen that time and time again. If we all decided to play one deck, that would be the meta. And then we would have another deck rise up that does a really good job at stopping that one deck, right? And so it's such a unique piece of Snap, especially right now that we don't have a card that screams ridiculous, right? It's awesome.
No, there's no card that completely feels out of tune, right? And you're right. Like before it was Shuri, and then it was Galactus, and then it was Thanos to some degree with Lockjaw's implementation. And then now there really isn't. And that's why, like, I mean, it's kind of spoiler, but we talked about how like the nerf list was pretty damn shallow on your side because like the game does feel in a great spot. And I want to come back to, again, we're talking about the state of the meta. I want to get back to something you'd said, which I think is super important. People want to know how they're going to get to infinite. And you know what they often do? They often say, okay, what's the highest win rate deck? What's this one? And they try to find like the best deck. But what's interesting about that is right now, for instance, Destroy represents like at least minimum 10% of the meta right now. And as more Destroy cards come out this month with X23 and others, it's only going to climb, right? Suddenly, if you want to get to infinite and you want to play something like a counter deck towards that, like a She-Not deck with armor in it, for instance, which is kind of prevalent right now, those decks absolutely slap. And so when you have these answers, these components that answer the meta, you can climb effectively. So Cozy, I guess my question to you is, like, the meta is in a fantastic spot. We both agree. But when you're trying to climb, when you're trying to get to infinite, how do you approach like your deck selection, your deck choice in order to kind of make the most ground?
So mine's a bit different because I'm a content creator, obviously, and I change up what I'm playing on a regular basis. And I always lean towards the side a little bit more risky and out there. That's always been my favorite thing to do. I think what you said about the Magic deck is a good point, because the thing that keeps that deck in check is Legion. It's Storm. It's ways to get rid of lockdown early or get rid of that limbo that they desperately want or desperately need. And if they don't need it, then you have ways to kind of go around it as well. It's cool. We see these cards go up, they go down. It's why I talk about all the time when a card comes out. It's the worst it's ever going to be most of the time because people are expecting that card to come out, especially punish cards, right? Like Dakin is not exactly a punish card. I think he's only going to get better when he comes out because of the fact of the matter that he has all these cards in the season pass that are going to help boost him up. For me, what I do, it's like stocks, right? If you see something at a 70%, 65, 60, 58% win rate, which take a lot of those with a grain of salt. There's a lot of bots out there these days. But you see those kind of percentage, those numbers are so crazy. Well, the stocks are high, buddy. The stocks are already high. You want to get a riser. You want to get a deck that's kind of on the rise. And what I like to do is I like to revisit archetypes. You can go and look at my channel and why I do this. And go and revisit archetypes. And those are the decks that are going to punch up. They've been consistent in the patch. Great example. Right now, haven't even done it. I guarantee you a Ultron Patriot list with some surprise mechanics in there is probably just killer. Man, it's probably pretty good. Killmongers everywhere. But you know what I mean? There's ways to bring back archetypes that have served huge purpose in the past. Add in a couple cards that counter the current meta. And you have yourself a deck that's doing pretty well. That's how I typically climb.
I love what you just said, because that is exactly how I approach climbing as well. Like, you know, playing the meta thing, someone who is, you know, relatively well versed in Marvel Snap, like if you're trying to get to Infinite or you're playing an Infinity Conquest, whatever, have respect for your opponent and kind of assume that they know what you're playing and they know kind of the play patterns of the meta decks. And if you're playing something that you've created, you know, on yourself, or you've made some adjustments to kind of give it a little bit of flair, then suddenly your opponent can't fully rely. Like, for instance, I won gold ticket after gold ticket, infinity ticket after infinity ticket, using Orca, just because no one knew Orca was coming. I'm not saying Orca's a meta deck, and I'm not suggesting you go out and play Orca or buy Orca in the token shop, but the idea that people were not anticipating the play of Orca was a huge advantage. Meanwhile, when I'm playing against a discard deck, I know exactly what their play pattern looks like. They cannot surprise me on turn 6 as someone who's played so much damn discard. The only deck that somewhat can be surprising is Silver Surfer, because you don't know what variation of Silver Surfer they have. You don't know what tech they have. They could have Rogue. They could have, Shadow King. So I do like that surprise factor.
Which is why when an archetype can get more diverse, the better it gets, right? Discard is good, but it's very linear. And so ultimately, you're probably not going to see it a ton at like high levels of play. Whereas when Destroy is getting more of these ways to go around it, it used to be one-dimensional. Now we're growing. Surfer is so much better than it was even 3 months ago because of the variance and not going with the 65% everybody plays deck, because then all of a sudden you have things. That's why Shadow King came on the rise, Alex. And so really the meta is revolved around a couple things. I like to call them kind of icon cards. Shang-Chi controls a lot in this meta, and this is a great example. Right now, I've been seeing some of the pros, some of the top players not put Shang-Chi in the deck because people are playing cards to avoid Shang-Chi, and these decks for the last 2 months have been built around it. Look right now, we've got Angela, we've got now even Dakin. We have ways of Miles Morales, and there's all these cards that are under 5, under 8, and you can kind of sneak by the Shang-Chi. Well, what do? What are we going to see? It's like almost predicting stocks and stuff. What are you going to see? Well, my friend, we just talked about it a little bit. I can almost guarantee you, as Shang-Chi, as people try to get confident not playing Shang-Chi, which makes no sense at all. Well, you got a big rise in reveal ramp. You got a big rise in these big, greedy power decks, the Arnim Zolas and the Black Panthers. Everything keeps itself in check. but they run themselves through a couple key cards, and obviously Shang-Chi is one of the bigger ones there.
Absolutely. I love the idea that you're saying that like there's cards that kind of are pillars of the Marvel Snap meta,
yeah.
right? Another card that's a good example of that is Shuri, right? Shuri is like the fact that you can go so vertical with different cards does provide a lot of utility, and also it makes so that Shang-Chi becomes more relevant, right? So if Shuri's gaining in popularity, you start having to include Shang-Chi again, unless of course they're Shuriing their damn Nimrod. Why are people Shang-Chiing my Nimrod, by the way? Can we stop doing that? Those wins are too easy. We need to stop Shang-Chiing Nimrods. But on the screen here you have Armor, which is going to be huge in the month of August.
Yeah, so I brought up Armor just because it was a card that I thought was decent to bring up. One thing that is worth noting, you brought up Shuri. Shuri got her biggest boost up when Bounce was going crazy, because what could Shuri do? It could get taller in 2 lanes. So one thing you want to do, and when you're trying to climb, guys, especially in Conquest, it's easy. You look at one of the top 3 decks, you look at what they do well, and then you find a deck that does it. Maybe it's probably worse overall against like the field of decks, right? Like Shuri in this example, I guess. But it does better in the job that other deck is trying to do in first place. Like, that is why these other decks can rise up. And that's where tech cards have a big play in this, obviously. But you look at what the deck's doing well. What does it do? If it's a destroy, okay. What does it rely on? Is it death? So sure, Shang-Chi. So pretty much Sarah Control can keep that at bay. It's looking at that, and not just that. You need priority, because if they're going to Venom, you need to be able to kill that Venom. You just look at what they do well, and you have a deck around it. And so, listen, I'm glad we didn't even talk about decks here. It was just cool to talk about the state of the meta, and I think we need to have a subject next week called the Pillars of Snap.
I love that. It's a great idea because like when we talk about the meta, people often really fixate on the decks themselves, but it's not just the decks. And like a great fascinating example of this is like when the Darkhawk based list really started taking off with Legion and etc. Even in the Darkhawk list themselves, everyone was teching in Enchantress because they're trying to counteract everyone else's damn Darkhawk, right? So it's kind of really interesting how the meta ebbs and flows. And something you said earlier as well is like something like High Evo, still a damn good deck. Why is it at 3%? Because people just don't feel like playing it anymore. You can take High Evo to Infinite. You can take High Evo to an Infinity ticket easily. The deck still slaps. So it's always ebbs and flows.
Yeah, but altogether, just good stuff. Good conversation there with the meta. Let's go to the next subject, which is airing of grievances. I saw this when you sent it over to me. Like, this is, first of all, just great callback to Seinfeld. Love it, man. Seinfeld, just one of the best shows of all time. Things that just piss you off, right, about Snap. And here's the deal. We are not even a year in. They're in it for the long haul. I think there's a lot of good things to come to Snap. But there's some things that I just find silly, right? And I'm just going to pull up, like, the first example that comes to mind very, very quick. And it may come down to staffing. I don't know. The Magneto can't be split. The season pass card Magneto can't be split. Why the hell is this kind of stuff in here? I'm not going to go on a rant about that, right? But it does seem to me that, like, when I used to work for hotels, we would have one big issue, right? Someone would do something stupid. And guess what? We'd sit together as a team, and we'd be like, let's come up with a game plan so this stupid thing doesn't happen again, right? Like that's what you do when you're in management of any kind. And I'm not trying to belittle people. There's bugs, there's things, there's spaghetti code, there's stuff that can happen. However, we already went through this, right? So it's like little bugs and little things that are creeping up. So like this was just one great area to start, right? Of like it's seeing Alex some like repeat offenders come up from time to time is my first small grievance. I have much more, but that's my first small one, buddy. What about you?
It's funny you bring up the Magneto because I got this variant as well, and I'm like, this variant is amazing. I actually have like 400, 500 something boosters for Magneto because I've never really liked all his variants. I'm like, I'm upgrading this one all the way. We're getting a gold, and then like it's like, nah, you ain't getting nowhere because you can't even split it.
Dude, I have this Magneto, which is like one of the best variants I have in my collection, and then I have this one, but I still got so pumped because of what this can become, and I'm like, why can't I do it? No, there's more important stuff. Obviously, that was a fun one to pick at there. Alex, listen, you know what? You're a big proponent of it, so I'm gonna bring this up, buddy, because it started with the Phoenix Force weekend missions.
I was just gonna rip on these weekend missions. You literally just telepathically took what I was actually gonna rip on.
Restaurants don't need people coming on the weekends. They don't have happy hour, right? They have the happy hour on the Monday and the Tuesday. Video games are typically the opposite, which I think we had this talk a long time ago that kind of surprised you. People play less on the weekends. Sometimes, typically, especially mobile games. Bro, make these fun as hell. Make these different.
Yeah. these weekend missions are a total misfire for me. Like, I'm glad that they exist, but what really bothers me is that like the weekend missions represented an opportunity to reinstate some of the resources that were taken out of the collector's reserves, right? And so now you have a situation like, okay, win 15 games with Dakin, which is still fine or whatever, but like win 15 games is such a deviation from the original way Marvel Snap did missions, which I thought was such a great experience. It just should be play Dakin in 15 games, and boom, that's such a better system. And this week they've reduced the 72-hour requirement for the weekend missions to 48 hours. Cozy, I'll be honest with you, the weekend missions are actually pissing me off because you even have the token value of the season pass cards changing every single week. I mean, Legion had a 500 token refund via the weekend missions, and then like what was it, Mirage got 100 or whatever it was. It's like, wow, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, the weekend missions and really just like missions in general. Like I actually loved the Star-Lord one where you had to win with Star-Lord. It was like, what the hell? How do you even do that? I don't even think that was a weekend one. That was a season pass one. But it was like, man, it made you think. It made you really like, well, what do I do? And make the reward great for that. Like, can you imagine? It's like win, what is it? Destroy season. So maybe like win, whatever, 5 games with someone involved with Wolverine. Terrible example. You can make way more exciting missions to get it going. I gotta tell you, man, that my next grievance isn't even a grievance. It's more of like, this is a critical thing that needs to happen. and it's like, I'm gonna try to be careful with how I go about it, but it's true, man. It sucks and it hurts to see. And this isn't speaking for probably everybody. I don't know, maybe. Ladder has turned to something so meaningless and infinite, for that matter, has turned into something so irrelevant that it pains. It pains me to see, man. I used to sweat for Infinite. I was trying so hard for Infinite, and it was hard to get. It was a status. It was hard to get. And ever since Conquest came in and how they try to counterbalance the bot situation, there's going to be global matchmaking. That's definitely going to fix the problems. I'm telling you right now. But there needs to be honestly a restructure, not on the ranks and stuff, but just how it all works. Maybe the rewards, and then maybe just how the season goes. And just like how Infinity Conquest is so hard to get, the top of the spear for ladder should be that exact same feeling. And we need the leaderboards, when they bring that, will create that in a sense. Do you know what I mean? Am I alone in this? I just feel like I just play for Conquest now, man. I really do.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I absolutely agree with you. Ladder to me just feels like it's like a mess. Like the amount of bots I see. The first few seasons where like I was getting Infinite, you're right. I was sweating hard. I remember how hard it was to go from 90 to 100. That was a sweat fest because no one was giving cubes. There were almost no bots whatsoever. And then now it's like I got these bots that are snapping on turn 3 and playing on every card on the left side. I'm like, what the hell's even happening right now? It's like bizarre. It's been really bizarre.
And then even like 2 months ago, they had the reset where everyone was still in the hundreds and like, well, that's okay. We'll do it next season. It's like, no, man, that just discredits. It takes away from everything, from stats. I can truly speak on this. The player base is humongous still, all right? So there's no reason for there to be bots as much as there are. There isn't. And some players don't ever see a bot. It's funny. And some do a lot. There's a big difference of correlation there. It's just not healthy. It's not great to see. And Conquest for some is the best thing to ever happen. And some people don't like it. And if you don't like it, you're stuck in this very like awkward spot. And so I think definitely the rewards need tuning. The rewards definitely need some changing up. And freshening up. It doesn't need to be increased value, but just like freshen them up, man. Bring in the emotes, throw those in there, like create a different atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree. And talking about like refreshing things up, like my next grievance, and I'm not trying to actually, before we move on to that, I want to just say like what you're saying is absolutely true. Rank needs a massive overhaul because it feels disastrous. But that is like a whole topic of itself.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's crazy how like irrelevant it feels. Like I basically just get to 100 and I never play it again. I just play Conquest over and over again because like it's meaningless. It just doesn't make sense. Like even after Infinite, like it's just like what? Like people just snap. Like there's no stakes. So like I like Conquest. But talking about like ramping up the rewards, I gotta be honest, I was disappointed when I saw the season pass this month didn't include any premium mystery variants. Like for me, I feel like the monetization of Marvel Snap has been this like game of like this nickel and dime testing every once in a while. It's like, listen, people buying the season pass, they're investing in your game every single month. It's not cheap. And why, when you have premium mystery variants, which are no longer part of the collection track, thanks to the improvements they made to the Spotlight Cash system, why wouldn't like the level 47 season pass not be a premium mystery variant? Like, why can't we just do that? Why are we making it so that people are just opening pixel variants through the season pass?
So here's the deal, man, because I want to talk about rewards, so I'm about to ream in here. Where I will come to, it's not even their defense. I'm just going to say this as it is. I agree, by the way. I don't even think it's a nickel and dime thing. I truly think they are just, they are not even thinking about it. And that is maybe even worse. Like, I don't think that I think they're so hardcore focused on PC launch right now. We've seen this with other areas of the game that they're not, the team is smaller than you think. And nobody there is sitting at this morning stand-up like, oh, by the way, we need premium variants at 47 season pass. No, they're just copying pasting the old coding from the last season with the new stuff. Which I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a problem with the season pass rewards. Like, I'm good with it. Outside of like where it's obvious, like you introduced premium variants, why is that not in there, right? Like, why give pixels at that point? I do agree there. I don't need a big ramp up in the other sections that much personally, and I think we might get that with emotes and stuff that come out. But I think it's the oversight, right? Which is why surveys are important, but also I think that they need to just be looking out for these small things that people are asking for. So I think that's a great point. Rewards in general need to get a touch up. So I said it in ladder, right? Okay. There needs to be more excitement because the competitive scene's there. I get it. But like a Conquest, man, I don't know about you. Conquest feels really cool. But all you got to do, man, is you change up the reward shop. It can't be that hard to come up with a 6-month plan of rewards that are diverse and different in both the shop and Infinity Conquest. You do that, and you got yourself so much more fun and engagement. And they kind of talked about it with this prestige system, so I think that's their way to go around it in a sense, or go with it. But you know what I mean? I feel like the variants have gone so far in this game, and they're so cool. Keep bringing these customization options. Keep bringing different borders you can unlock and different things and effects. And I don't know. I would like to see that.
I would like to see a season pass or at some point the opportunity to unlock whole new boards, like whole new like entire boards would be absolutely insane. Like, but like again, we're kind of reaching out here, but yes, definitely reward structure needs improvement. And it looks like, I mean, they just improved the number of medals you get from Conquest. It looks like the cost of individual pieces in the shop did go down. We do get one less week of Conquest though, because it was a 5-week month last month.
Yeah,
but that's a good step in the right direction. Like, and I think that's going to encourage people to play more Conquest, especially since they're kind of forced to with these gold tickets. But we'll talk about that in a second.
So, okay, can I tell you this though? Because I'm ready to talk about that. I have a video coming out. I opened up 150 caches. I opened 150 caches, buddy. 150, bud. How much gold tickets do you think I got?
I mean, I don't know, 25?
7, Alex. I only got 7 gold tickets. So I don't know if that's a testament to my... listen, I wasn't even going to open these. I was going to save them for something else. And I was like, I saw so much complaints on the gold ticket thing. And so I opened them all. And the video comes out this week. I opened them all, and I only got 7. And I wanted them because I make content around Gold Conquest. I wanted the tickets. I was pissed that I only got 7. I think it's a 50-50 poll, right? Whereas it's different. So my luck will differ. Bro, 7 is nothing out of 150. Was it the right thing to do to put them in there? No. Was it the right thing to do really to change gold, the collective reserves at all? No, it wasn't. It's just stupid. I think they should just left them how they were. Like, let's just get that out there. Like, I will say that to anybody's face, and I have no problem there. But the gold ticket thing, man, I got way more tokens. You'll see on the video. I got way more tokens because I wasn't getting the 50 anymore. I just kept getting 100, 100, 100 or credits. Interesting.
Yeah, like the reason why like couldn't even guess appropriately as to how many gold tickets you'd open. I have like 300 unopened collector's reserves. Like I'm not opening them. I have no desire to. I'm just like holding out hope that like they improve them at some point because they feel so worthless to me that like I don't even want to open them. The only reason why I'm thinking about opening them is because now it's hard for me to find my spotlight caches because I have to scroll through all the because I'm opening spotlight caches, but I got like hundreds of reserves unopened. So like I'm in this weird middle ground, but like they need to do something, and it's sad because like I'm actually excited to open up the season pass, like 51 to like 100 caches. I'm more excited about opening those than I am to open the collector's reserves, which I think is insane to me.
And like, again, if they bring rewards in different areas and they restructure it, I'm not too mad about how the collector opening stuff goes these days. Maybe they need to touch up the golden ones, the collector reserves or whatever. But at the end of my video, I opened 150 of them. And I remember being like, okay, well, that wasn't exciting as much, right? And like, I got like 40 variants. I'm not even kidding you. I got a ridiculous amount of variants. And even that, I was like, that is a core mechanic of the game. That's such like a piece of the game. And it's like, you nailed the new card thing. You nailed it. All right. Just, there's got to be something else there. And I think the prestige thing might help this, but then that doesn't even bring in with the gold tickets. The gold ticket thing is super awkward in a lot of ways. There is going to be a camp of people that really like the gold tickets. There's going to be more that don't. But I did get way less than I thought, but that could just be in my experience in that regard. Lastly, dude, I want to just bring this up because I think this is on everybody's mind. It's a mixture of both, but it's communication and series drops, right? Did you notice when you logged in to your OTA change or the balance change, it had a little pop-up that said what changed? Hey, great addition, buddy. Because guess what? People don't scour YouTube and Discord like everybody that chooses to listen to our dumbasses here, right? Which I appreciate you guys. But like people who are the casual players, which again, I've learned this game is so much bigger than I thought. There's so many more casual players than I thought that play this game. They aren't keeping up with all this stuff. And so when they saw the series drops and all of a sudden they just stopped, right? You have one issue there. But then you have like conflicting stuff coming from like, well, they didn't want to do it because they wanted more of a stockpile. But whatever. Honestly, it just sounds like dumb to me. To me, I don't know why we're not series dropping even a couple. And listen, you can ask the worst of evils. Like, okay, if you only series drop 2 cards, is that worse than none? And are people going to still complain? You betcha, buddy. If Snow Guard went down and that was it, people are going to be pissed. But at least it's something. At least things are going down. They need to, man. It's crazy. I don't know why they're not dropping cards. It's silly.
I know. I've been asked about the series drops a number of times. It's my understanding that they're not gone, that they intend on doing them in the near future. Like they're coming at some point. But the thing that kind of brings me caution, like we're asking for these series drops, but at the same time, like we're having a null repeat in a spotlight cache soon. So maybe they are shorter on cards than we give them. Like maybe they are short. Like maybe they just need some leeway to release some more cards, get those spotlight caches filled before they can start doing some more season drops.
And to be fair with that too, like Hearthstone has these giant expansions and it's only like 3 cards that are, I don't know, I'm speaking small terms, but there's 3 cards that are good and 2 classes that rise up, right? So more cards doesn't always equal good, and the reason the meta, or the praise of the meta, is because they do take their time in making sure flavor and stability feel right. I would rather that than just influxes of new cards all the time. But it's a mixture of that, and it's a mixture of, like, perfect example. We had 2 months with 2 Series 4 drops, and now this month we have none. And it's just coincidental that next month we don't either, and these cards are really, really good. It just is a communication thing. Coming from marketing myself, I think that's where I'm upset. I'm like, I can sit here and be like, okay, whatever. Like, you know, spotlight it out, save it, whatever. But like, why wasn't there any talk about that? There's no Series 4. You know what? It's just kind of weird. It's an in tandem thing, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And the other side of this is that there's no Series 4 release this month. They're all Series 5 cards. So you add that with no series drops, and suddenly you're like, come on now, like, you know, you're not even barely giving us tokens anymore. So like, what are we supposed to do? Like, what are we supposed to do all these Series 5 cards all of a sudden, right? So, you know, an excellent point. But at the end of the day, Cozy, what I kind of want to finish off with here is that, like, this is an airing of grievances because we're picking on the things that need to get fixed up and stuff like that. I know it's things that people really want to see picked up on, but at the end of the day, like, we're playing a fantastic game, and very clearly it's in a great spot.
It's a super fun game to play. The meta's insane. They just need to tweak the little things. They need to tweak the little things. Yeah. Everything else, I love it, without question. Let's get to our last subject today, buddy. 6 cost tier list. I am pumped to do this. I am amped to do this. We have S tier through F tier, F, D, C, B, A, S. I want to try to reserve S for only a couple of cards, Alex, if you can. All right, and F, you can put as many as you want in there. We're going to go in alphabetical order. And guys, I want you to put down in the comments below in Alex's section here what you think these are going to be before we do them. Here's the list we'll be going at in the order we'll be doing them. Alex, we're going to start with Agatha, buddy. Hit me with the tier. We can probably be quick on this.
Yeah, it's probably an F. It's probably an easy F there. I don't want to say it's an F because I've won Agatha games that take people by surprise, but like, It probably has to be an F though. If Agatha's
Yeah.
like a legit really good, I'm gonna get to Infinite, I'm gonna win Infinity Tickets card. Like shit's gone sideways, so probably it needs to be probably a weaker card.
Listen, we're talking in the context of comparison to the other 6-cost cards. That's what this tier list is all about too. So like, and a mix of that and how they are, I guess, would just work, right? But yes, in the comparison, she's an F tier card. I don't think I have to think about that too much. Chavez, man, Chavez, who just has the best variants. I got to tell you, where do you have Chavez?
Personally, for me, she's S, but generally, I would agree with an A ranking.
Yeah, I do put her in S. I'm gonna be strict on S, and I
you
put her in
do.
S.
You put her in S?
Of course, dude. Yeah,
My man.
she's the only deck thinner in the game to a degree, and she's still a 9 power card, and she makes things predictable or more dependable, and that's all you can ask for. She will always be here because of the competitive scene in Snap, and that feels really good. Whether you like to play her or not, that's another situation, but I think everyone can agree she's probably the top of the list as far as what she brings to the game. Put her in the S tier. I know, I don't disagree.
Question. I'm glad we agree on that. I was actually scared you're gonna go after my Chavez. I was like, don't you dare.
Dude. She's too good at thinning, brother. Too good at thinning. I don't know how we went back to that. APOC, this will be a fun one. What do you think?
I'm willing to put Apocalypse in like a low A.
Oh my God, you have him way higher than I do. Okay.
Really?
Way higher.
Come on.
Yeah. I'm looking at all these. I'm looking at them all together, and I'm trying to get a bell curve. And if you look at all the other 6-cost drops, just because he's third up, way too high. I almost have him in C. I'll be honest. He's good.
No, come on.
Yeah, he's good.
C?
He's good. You just have to activate him, do things right, and make him work. And he works in one deck and or maybe two. I maybe low B at best, but it's B or C. I put him in the same category as I'm going to be putting some of the other ones that make sense. I'm trying to compare to all of the cards in 6-cost, and to me, he doesn't hold up quite as strong. I'll put him in B. Can we agree in B?
I can agree with B. You know what? Now that I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, you know what? Maybe A's high. I said low A in my defense, but it's because like without him, like, listen, he's almost every discard deck. Like he makes that archetype what it is, so that's why he holds specific value. But he doesn't have the universal appeal of some of the other cards we're going to talk about. So I'll accept a low B.
And yeah, and if you don't get him at the right time, and there can be some awkward things about him, but he is very, very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I have him in B. Arnim Zola.
I know you love Zola. I love Zola too, but I would put him into a high C scenario, low B.
Okay, I have him in low B too. I have him in B because he's probably not as good as Apocalypse as what he brings, but he does have more flexibility and more surprise factor. And he is kind of always going to be around with that regard, right? You can see APOC rise and fall. I think Arnim has always been Arnim, and that's why I have him in the B tier there. So I'll let you decide where to place these on the graphic here, but I have him as B. You have him as C tier, everybody. Next card up, Lady Death. Lady Death. You're talking about she could, if you reach and have a nerf. What do you have her in? I'll go first.
I would say she's like a high A.
Okay.
She's a high A.
I have her in A too. Yeah. Yep. I have her in A too.
Good. Yeah, this is one of the like most consistently fantastic cards in Marvel Snap, but it takes work to get there. Like this is not a freebie. There's going to be games where like, you know, you don't get your draws, you're not destroying things. If you're playing a destroy deck that's not destroying things, you're probably retreating anyway. But when things are going right, this card comes out and it's a huge drop. And honestly, I love it. It's a great card. And it's a staple of destroy. Like it always has been and it always will be.
They nailed her, man. It took time to really get her to where she is today. She was too strong, then wasn't doing enough, and now she's perfect. I love what they did with the card. Death is definitely A for me. We can both agree on that. No question. Let's go Destroyer. And he's a tougher one to place, I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, Destroyer for me is going to be like near the bottom of A. I don't think it's as prevalent as a Death. However, I can see the argument for it falling into B because it does feel a little more niche. However, with the rise and emergence of Shiri Nimrod, Destroyer is an absolutely incredible card in that package. So from a meta relevance perspective, I think he deserves to potentially punch up to A.
Okay, I have him right where I have APOC, kind of the same sense. He works in the decks that he works in well. I think APOC's probably even a little bit better in that regard.
Ooh, really? I think Destroyer's better than APOC.
And not as punishing. But yeah, I mean, I put them together. I definitely... Listen, I think we're going to disagree a lot on this, and I love that. 6-cost is, for a reason, one of the most exciting ones to rank because there's so much debate here, and I plan on doing a pretty cool video with it coming up. So... B or A. Again, I'm gonna let Alex decide where to put these. I can't wait to go back and see these placements. I'll start with Doctor Doom. I think he's A tier. I don't think he's played near as much, but he's still Doctor Doom. He still does what he does well. Do you have him in A or B?
You know what? The sticker shock of his change makes him feel like a B,
Yeah.
but he's actually an A.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to say it. Yeah, it is. It's like, it's way worse than he was, but it's not a bad card. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think he deserves to be an A, but like, I don't think he's as good as Death is, for instance. I think Death's better, but Doctor Doom maybe has more universal appeal, so the argument can be made, well, maybe it's a better 6-drop because it can go into more decks. What do you think, Cozy? Death or Doctor Doom?
It just depends on the deck, bro. I mean, I would say Doom universally, but Death is much better probably at once because of the Arnim Zola play with her. You can do Taskmaster, Deadpool. I like that. It is funny. I've chosen to skip over him a lot in my deck building because of the recent adjustment. Galactus, man. Very good spot. If I'm only doing a couple of S tiers, he's not going to be S for me, but I do have him at very, very high A.
Very high A, really? See, I was thinking more on the B side of things.
Okay.
Sell me on the A.
Yeah, I mean, A, his stats speak for himself. The deck's way up there now. Anytime you have, listen, he's a win condition in himself in a lot of times. So the fear that he brings to himself, and now that he's providing 7 power, so it's not like the most dead play either. Galactus either wins you the game or puts a decent, or changes what your opponent's trying to do. In Conquest, they're constantly fearing the play of him. And I just think 7 power is not the worst thing for it. Chavez is a 6'9", but he's a 6'7", and he dramatically changes the game. Not a lot of cards do that, so I have him in A, yeah.
You know what? I can agree with that. I think he's slightly lower, but I understand, and I actually think he's in a really cool spot right now. He's actually rising in popularity pretty quickly here. People are realizing that, hey, Galactus still slaps, but he's in a good spot. He's not completely overbearing yet.
Agreed. Do you want to take this one or me on the first? Giganto.
You know what? I love Giganto, but this is probably a D card because it's only good when it is played in conjunction with very specific things like Hela and other things along those lines. So in and of itself, compared to the other ones, I give it a D.
I give him an F. No question. I think he's one of the worst cards in there. When Dakin can be a 16 3-power card with not a lot of work, it's like you're stuck to the left lane, man. It's wild. It's just wild. I get it. He's like Orca in a sense in some decks, but Orca I would give the D tier, which I guess would spoil that. But I would give Orca the bump up over him nowadays. But you do love the card, so I was expecting you to give him like a little bit of an Alex bias on it. So I don't mind. Could you see F? I could see D. And
I agree with your assessment of F if I take my emotions out.
Heimdall.
Oh man, I don't want to say it. Heimdall feels like he's maybe D punching into C sometimes. And it's not to say that his effect is not powerful. It's just one of the most predictable effects in Marvel Snap if you're playing it in a move deck, right? I've tried to get fancy with the ramp decks running Heimdall, but his 8 power just doesn't feel good enough. When Vision is 8 power, and you can get him out a turn earlier anyways. So it's like Heimdall feels weird. I don't want to say it because I love the card, but he feels like a D.
I have him at C. I have him a little bit higher. I think that he does do well in certain things. He's better than he was before. He is very one-dimensional. And he just doesn't slot into other decks that easy unless you're trying to be really fun, right? So I have him as a C. We'll see where Alex puts him. Hela.
I mean, it's Hela. This is an archetype-defining card. It is the most discarded card in Marvel Snap for a reason. It's got to be, oh man, I want to say A. And I know I'm a little high. But I think Hela's probably A from a 6-drop perspective. It's still, I don't know, man. I would accept B. You're looking at me like I'm out of my mind, but I think Hela actually puts up points right now. It scams bots. If you're looking to get to infinite by scamming bots can't read a Hela match. Like, they just don't understand the board state at all. So, I mean, you're going to get them for 8. But, yeah, you're going to discard the hell of it a lot. You're going to be hitting that retreat button quite a bit. But I think Hela is maybe worthy of an A, but I'm ready to be sold lower.
No, her deck's good. I get that. It's much better than it was. It's trying to get, like, the mindset of she's just better than where she was. She's lower than APOC for me, and I have APOC at B, right? So she's below APOC, but in B is where I have her. I think APOC is just a better play.
B. I accept B.
We have a Helicarrier, who I forgot to put in my rankings. No, I didn't. Never mind. It's at the very bottom. It's weird, man. A 610 you would think is good, but then you try to get the synergy to go off. Maybe you could put it in a D tier. It's just listen. There needs to be bottom cards. This is an F tier.
This is F. Yeah, it's an easy F, and I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I know. Listen, Dex tries to make Helicarrier workable once a month, but like,
Yeah.
realistically, Helicarrier is such a dead card. I've played it. And it feels horrible. This is a great variant though.
It is. The variant game's top of the league. Hulk, it's hilarious because you have high Evo Hulk and then you have regular Hulk. Regular Hulk, I have at D tier. I think that just the power alone, you're like, okay, it does something. But I have high Evo Hulk at man, whatever you want, man. A or S, probably A.
Yeah, he's a high A. We're just gonna. I think. Listen, no one's playing just naked Hulk. We're going high Evo Hulk here. So yeah, he's a firm A, if not near the top. Like, it is just an absolutely insane card, and the change actually that they have makes it a little less reliable from the opponent's perspective to reliably know what the power level is, which can be tricky because sometimes you're gonna overstat that Hulk, right? So it's kind of crazy how that Hulk change actually impacts its playability.
Agreed, man. I think Null is one of the harder ones to place because Null, everybody wants to think about the Null where they got him up to 1 million, but then they forget about the Null that it's hard to get up and then you have a dead card in your hand.
So for me, Null is a C card that should be higher. It's one of those cards for me, like, I often feel like I don't want to play it. Like, I have it, but it's not ready. It's not the point. It's like, you know what? When Magic got changed, I found myself playing Null more because I had that more, the additional turn made Null feel more relevant, especially with the way, like, I'm playing Nimrod Destroyer. Like, when I'm doing Destroy, that's kind of the package I'm going with, and Null works really well there. But so does just playing Carnage and Deathlock and blowing up Nimrods all over the place on that turn, right? So Null, I want to say very high C, if not like the pinnacle of C, but I can absolutely see it being in B.
I have him. He's my lowest B, so I have him like the edge of B. He's not above Hela or APOC because of the reliability that he comes with. When he wins big, right? But here's the thing: X23, I think Null may go up to A, reliably A. Once we can play him without trying as hard, man, without sacrificing. Destroying or doing other things on the board, I think he's going to get and when X23 comes out, everybody's playing Destroy. So then at that point, I think he's an A pretty firmly there. Next card up, we've got Leader, who I'll say this, I think he is slept on. I do think Leader is just not played, but I think he's a good card. Right? Like, doesn't it feel like that a little bit?
Yeah, he's pretty decent. I think what killed Leader was like that bounce meta where like they're just playing so many cards. So Leader just fell off of the zeitgeist completely. For me, he feels D tier, but like if like Sandman or anything like that comes back, then suddenly he rises to B or A because like if you can reliably ensure that you're copying and replicating a card, then it's insane what this card does. But right now he feels like he's battling in D tier.
I have him in C, which easily could be B depending on the meta.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're like, I hope they play this. It never feels good, but he's better than people give him credit for, and I do think he's disrespected. Magneto, have him in S2.
I was gonna say pump him right to the top. I think this is probably one of the absolute best cards in the game right now, especially in the current meta. I'm seeing so much Magneto. I'm playing so much Magneto. This card is S tier, and it's the best evergreen card in the game right now. Like it has to be the card you can put into any deck.
We said that after the Doom. We knew like this is like he was the rightful heir to the throne once Doom got nerfed because it was just obvious what he brings. But even then, it was the Darkhawk phase. Now it's the Silver Surfer phase and the Venom and there's so many things that you can use and abuse. Man, I'm glad we agreed. This was an easy S tier. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Odin, I got him in the B tier.
I like Odin a lot.
I got him in B tier and I love him. He's combo rich.
Yeah, he's high B tier for me. My personal list, he hits into the A.
Yeah.
But understanding that, like, really what Odin does is just makes other cards that have good effects do their thing again. Right? Like, that's kind of the thing for Odin, right?
Yeah.
But I love Odin a lot. I accept high B tier here.
Okay, love it. Onslaught, man, the disrespect on the slot, man. I don't know if someone can love Onslaught more than myself, and I still have him in the B tier.
Yeah, I agree. B tier for sure. I like Onslaught as well. I think he's a great card, and he shouldn't be a surprise card. But I feel like I drop him, I'm like, people did not do the math on what Onslaught does. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he's great. He's definitely one of the most slept on 6 cards. Like people like, I joke about this all the time. You're like, why are you including Onslaught? Cut that, add this. I'm like, no. stop cutting Onslaught, damn it. This card is good. You just got to really believe in what it's capable of doing, right? Yeah, you don't just go super vertical in a Iron Man lane or whatever, but yeah, Onslaught's definitely worth its weight in gold.
Yep, B tier. Orca, I already said I have him in D. Where do you have him?
Man, this is where we're going to be the widest. For me, Orca's a B. And I know this is wild, but I think, listen, I play a lot of Orca, more than I should. And Orca steals games, man. It steals games. As long as you're in the mindset of I'm playing Orca and I'm leaving a location open. Sometimes I even play Orca with move cards, so I can kind of like, I got Jeff and Vision. I'm moving things around so they can't really predict the play pattern. Nobody in their right mind is saying he might have Orca.
Yeah, but
they're giving up lanes where they're up by 14 because of Orca.
How are competitive decks not putting up more than 16 in a lane that they want to win?
That's the thing, right? And that's what holds them down.
I just think
because you used to have hit monkeys almost hit that range.
Yeah, I feel like you still can though. I feel like you can compete with 16 so easily now. Like that's just me. Maybe I need to play more Orca. I just like woof. Yeah, you put him where you want to. You put him where your heart tells you to.
I'll put him in D because that's where he belongs. Again, let's take my bias out of it.
She-Hulk, man. She-Hulk. I have her in A, man. I have her back in A. It's solidified.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. I agree.
Thank you, Magic. By the way, because she was missing the play, but now she's back up, and I'm happy to see her there. Spectrum.
D. For me, this is a D card.
I know, and that's even nice, I feel like, right? Like, I don't even know if I would put her above Orca. Like, I think I can make Orca work more, in my opinion.
100% Orca is better than Spectrum is.
Is Helicarrier better than Spectrum?
No, Helicarrier is garbage. Come on.
I think that there are more cheap ongoing cards coming out, and that's nice. I just never feel like I'm putting her in a deck, and I've tried to make her work. Like, too much.
Yeah.
We'll put her DF. I'm fine with that. Probably, I think F. But Thanos is the other S tier I have. Yet the last one. Yep. S tier.
Yep.
No,
Right
no
to
question.
S. 100%. Not forgetting about Thanos this time. Yeah, definitely going to S tier. And I love the fact that it's also an S tier investment. Like if you're a Marvel Snap player and you have Thanos, you have access to a very fun archetype that's complex to play. It flexes your mind muscles a little bit, and it's just a great card. Now it's not necessarily the Thanos itself. The 610 or the 620, that's not what the banger is. It's the package that makes it beautiful.
100% agree. Infinite, man. Infinite, I think you see big number equal better card. But given the meta, where do you have him?
Given the meta, I give him a C because he is a big number and he does represent a massive point slam, especially with the She-Hulk.
Yeah.
However, there's risk. When you're skipping turn 6 to play that turn 7 combo and you've got that limbo on the board and Legion is as good as it is, you are really if someone snaps on you turn 6 with limbo on the board, you just gotta know. You gotta know that Infinite ain't hitting nothing.
I have him top of C or maybe even flirting with Null's territory and reliability. But yeah, it's right there. Tribunal, man. Dude, I like Tribunal. He's fine with me. I don't know. Do you put him B or do you put him C or where do you put him?
I lean towards Tribunal being a C card,
C.
But I do recognize that I think this card might see some major spotlight action when some more cards come out in the future. Like, listen, this card does a very specific thing in Marvel Snap, and it's only going to get better. It's going to age like fine wine as more cards get introduced to the game that synergize with its ability. So I agree with a C assessment here.
Lastly, we have Ultron, who made it into your top 10 best cards in the game, Alex. So you take this one off, bud.
Yeah, so it's funny. A lot of people gave me heat for that, and like rightfully so, okay? Like I get it, but like from a pure statistics standpoint, Ultron is an absolute chad. Okay, when played, it's one of the highest win rate cards in the game. It's taking people by surprise across all ranks of Marvel Snap. Okay, this is a great card. We've talked about, like, it came up in this podcast. Ultron Surprise Patriot is still an amazing deck, and that's a deck that you designed months ago. It's still a great list. With that being said, I lean towards him potentially brushing up against S tier, but I accept an A tier association. I'm high. Listen, I get it. I'm high on Ultron. I completely understand.
High.
He's not S.
Definitely high.
He's not S, but I would give him an A tier ranking.
Ultron has like long been up there as like probably a top 10 card that I've always loved since beta. But give me some of what you have over there in the in the drug department. I will go. Man, I like him. It just depends on the meta right now, man. No one's playing him, so hell, he's probably pretty good. I put him better than Infinite. That's very fair to say. It's a lockdown. It was a lockdown meta for a while. I'm gonna put him. I'll put him above Hella.
Yeah, listen, he deserves to be in A or B for sure. Maybe I'm a little high on him. I get it. It's the statistics that reach out to me. Like when I see the stats, what they are, like the numbers don't lie on Ultron. But I understand the sentiment around the card. It is very niche. It only works in 1 or 2 specific decks. So like in theory, Magneto is, the king of the crop from that regard.
Yep.
But I do think that Ultron has a role to play.
And with that, man, that is all of them. So you can see the entire tier list right here and our rankings, or really Alex's placement. But you heard our rankings. And guys, thank you so much for 41 episodes of the Snapchat. Buddy, I'm looking forward to next week. As always, we have just some great cards coming out and Lady Deathstrike tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic few weeks of Marvel Snap. There's so much to be excited about. And as always, we'll be here on Monday, ready to go. Thank you so much for your support. Hitting the like button on our videos really does make a huge difference with the algorithm. You know how that thing can be. Regardless, Cozy, thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you on that next Marvel Snapchat episode.